iconic moment, standing at the bow, arms outstretched, soaring above the vast ocean. "I'm flying," Rose exclaimed, a declaration of her freedom and their burgeoning, passionate love. In that moment, she chose him, choosing love over the suffocating wealth and expectations of her past.
Okay, so we all know Titanic, right? The epic love story of Jack and Rose. But what if I told you it's about so much more than just a romance? Today, we're going to peel back the layers and look at what's really going on beneath the surface. This is a story about how love doesn't just find a way. It completely shatters the walls of social class. And right at the heart of it all is this wild paradox. I mean, check this out. On one side, you've got Rose. To the outside world, she has everything. But really, she's completely trapped by all that privilege. And then you have Jack. He has, well, literally nothing. But that poverty, it's what makes him totally and completely free. You've got two polar opposite worlds about to collide on the very same ship. All right, so let's dive into these two worlds existing just a few floors apart on this massive ship. Worlds that, let's be honest, were never meant to cross paths. First, let's talk about Rose's world. And yeah, on the surface, it looks like a total dream, right? First-class passenger, dripping in jewels, surrounded by wealth. But it's all just a beautiful prison, a gilded cage. She's engaged to this cold, super controlling guy, Cal, and her entire life is just one long list of what she's supposed to do, who she's supposed to be. She has everything money can possibly buy, except the one thing she really desperately wants, just to be herself. And then you have Jack, and his world, it could not be more different. He's this poor, totally free-spirited artist down in third class. You know how he got his ticket? He won it in a poker game, like literally minutes before the ship was scheduled to leave. He's got nothing to his name but the clothes he's wearing in his sketchbook, but he possesses the one thing Rose would give anything for: absolute, total freedom. No rules, no expectations. So the big question is, how do these two people from practically different planets even meet? Well, it all happens at the back of the ship, in a moment of pure desperation. And to really get what's happening here, you have to understand just how desperate Rose is. She isn't just unhappy, she is suffocating. That life of privilege we talked about, it has become a prison she can't escape. And she feels like there's only one way out. This isn't just about getting away from her awful fiancé, it's about escaping her entire life. And this is the catalyst, the absolute game changer. You have this nobody from third class saving the famous, untouchable heiress from first class. That one single act, that one human connection, does way more than just save her life. It's the spark that lights a fire, and that fire is about to burn down every single rule in their rigid, structured world. So from that point forward, their whole story is about one thing: crossing that divide. It's about breaking all the rules and sneaking into worlds they were never, ever supposed to know about. And their connection just takes off like a rocket. It all starts with a rescue, right? But then it grows through all these secret talks and stolen moments. They start sneaking back and forth between the fancy, stuffy first-class decks and the loud, lively, chaotic world down below. With every step they take, they're not just crossing a deck, they're crossing a massive social barrier. But you know, it's really important to see that this wasn't just a one-way street. It's not just Jack saving the poor little rich girl. This whole thing was a journey of discovery for both of them. Sure, he gave her a taste of freedom, but she gave him something too. She showed him that his art, his passion, it deserved a place in that fancy world he'd always been excluded from. So Jack starts giving Rose these little lessons in how to actually live. And at first they might seem kind of silly, right? He takes her dancing in the wild party down in steerage. He teaches her how to spit like a boy off the side of the ship. He gets her to just stand and feel the wind without one of those awful tight corsets. But each one of these moments is a lesson in being real. He's teaching her what pure, unfiltered joy feels like. And all of this, all these little rebellions and lessons in freedom, they're all leading up to one of the most iconic moments in movie history. I'm flying. Chills, right? But that line, it's so much more than just something romantic to say. It is literally the sound of her chains snapping. Standing there at the front of the ship, Jack holding her up, that's the moment Rose finally feels what true, absolute freedom is like. She's finally out of that cage, and for a second, she's completely weightless. And that incredible feeling, that moment of flying, it pushes her towards the ultimate choice. She has to decide, the life she was born into, or the life she now knows is possible. It's love over wealth, freedom over expectation. I mean, look at the choice she has to make. It's so stark. Path A is with Cal. That means a future with all the wealth and status in the world. But we know it's just a gilded cage. Then there's Path B with Jack. That means poverty, adventure, a totally uncertain future. But it's the only path where she gets to be her true self. And she makes her choice. She chooses Jack. And in doing so, she basically embraces a whole new identity. She's throwing away the name DeWitt Bukater and everything that comes with it. From now on, she's not defined by who she was born as, but by what's in her heart. When you really think about it, their story suggests that in the process of finding each other, what they really did was find themselves. And that kind of leaves us with a bigger question to chew on, doesn't it? Maybe true love isn't really about finding that perfect other person. Maybe it's about them helping you find the person you were always supposed to become.
You know, some stories are more than just history, right? They become these modern myths. The sinking of the Titanic was a massive tragedy, for sure. But it's the love story at the heart of it that has made it absolutely unsinkable in our culture. So today, let's dive into how a fleeting romance became an echo that goes beyond time and even beyond death itself. And this quote, man, it just hits the nail on the head. It's not about how long the romance lasted, but how deep it was. How one single, powerful connection can totally change the entire course of a person's life. That's the big idea we're really talking about here. So, every great love story needs that one big moment, that turning point. And for this one, it all kicks off on this magnificent ship. A ship that's headed for a collision, not just with an iceberg, but with fate itself. So picture this. The night of April 14th, 1912. The Titanic, this supposedly invincible, unsinkable ship, meets something it just can't beat. This one single catastrophic event changes everything. It turns a brand new story about love and rebellion into this desperate, chaotic fight for survival. But here's the thing. This tragedy wasn't just about a ship going down. In those absolutely freezing waters, the disaster pulled back the curtain on the brutal social hierarchy of the time. Suddenly, who you were, your social class, could literally mean the difference between life and death. And when you look at what happened, the difference is it's shocking. If you were in first class, you pretty much had a golden ticket to the lifeboats. But for people in third class like Jack, well, the odds were completely stacked against them. We're talking about them being physically locked behind gates while the ship is flooding. It's a horrifying example of how that class divide could be absolutely lethal. And right in the middle of all this chaos, we see something incredibly cruel and personal go down. Rose's fiancé, Cal, decides to get rid of Jack for good. He frames him for theft, and just like that, Jack's handcuffed to a pipe below deck with water rising all around him. This puts Rose in an impossible spot, right? Save herself or risk it all for the guy she loves. And you know what she does? She chooses Jack. So as they're fighting their way to the deck, the unthinkable happens. The whole ship, this massive steel giant, just gives way. It groans and literally tears itself in half. Can you even imagine the absolute terror of that moment? And just like that, they're not on the deck anymore. They're thrown from the chaos into the dark, deadly cold waters of the North Atlantic. The fight to survive just became way more immediate and way more personal. And it's this desperate struggle right here in the water that leads to probably the most iconic and, let's be honest, heartbreaking moment of the whole story. A final promise made when death seems absolutely certain. So here's how it all plays out. Their entire fate boils down to this one moment. Rose finds a floating wooden panel and gets on it. But Jack knows he's not going to make it in that freezing water. So he makes her promise him. He makes her swear that she will survive, that she'll live a long, full life. And after he's gone, after he succumbs to the cold, she has to make that gut-wrenching decision to let him go. But here's the key. His sacrifice gives her the strength to find a whistle and blow it, securing her rescue. His death is the direct reason she survives. So that really makes you wonder, right? Was that it? Was Jack's death in the icy water the end of their story? I mean, it seems so final. But what if it wasn't an ending at all? What if it was actually the beginning of a life he couldn't have even imagined for her? Okay, so let's talk about the echo of that promise, because this is where the story gets really deep. This is where we see how Jack's sacrifice didn't just save her life in that one moment. It gave her entire future meaning and purpose. And this really gets at a big idea: transcendence. It sounds fancy, but all it really means is that their love wasn't just about two people on a ship. It went beyond that. It went beyond his death, and it became this immortal guiding light for the rest of her life. And boy, does she keep that promise. Rose doesn't just, survive. She lives. I mean, she really lives. She lives the free, adventurous life that Jack always dreamed of for her, filled with all these experiences she never would have had otherwise. And the whole time, she's doing it for him. So after living this incredibly full life, after keeping that promise to the absolute letter, Rose's journey finally comes to an end. But it's not a sad ending. It's a peaceful and long-awaited reunion. Her journey on Earth just gently ends. She passes away as an old woman, warm in her bed, exactly what Jack had wished for her, surrounded by photos of the amazing life she lived, all because of him. And this is where we get the story's ultimate payoff. In this beautiful, dreamlike afterlife, Rose returns to the Titanic. But it's not a wreck at the bottom of the ocean. It's perfect, just like it was. And Jack is there waiting for her at the top of the grand staircase. And all around them are the people who were lost, and they're all applauding. It's such a powerful symbol, isn't it? Their love didn't just conquer death. In a way, it redeemed the entire tragedy. So, at the end of it all, we're left with this really powerful thought. This story seems to be telling us that it's not how long a love lasts that matters, but how deep it goes. And it leaves you with this question: can one single, profound connection, no matter how brief it is, be enough to give your whole life meaning?